Hello and welcome to Racer TV. I'm Rachel Ayers.
And I'm Rodney Smith, 5-time GNCC champion.
We're here in Southern Ohio and we have beautiful weather for the Powerline Park GNCC. And Rodney, I don't see how we cannot have a wonderful day of racing here today.
No, definitely, Rachel. The sun's shining. We are in Southern Ohio. Don't let that fool you, though. This track is everything but easy. It's very technical out there. We got a lot of tight woods, a lot of steep hills. We even got some fast, open grass track stuff, and we still got Gus's mud hole for the riders to contend with.
While the championship has already been wrapped up by JUHA, it looks like he's going to see his biggest competition yet. We have David Knight here from Great Britain.
Yeah, David Knight clinched the World Championships early, and he's actually coming over next year full-time to replace JUHA here in the GNCC Series.
While they're both world champions, they have never actually raced each other. How do you think that's going to affect them today?
Well, we don't know if David Knight's coming over to learn from JUHA, maybe follow him around and get some techniques and stuff from him, or if he's actually coming over to race this race to try to win it and show who is the true world champion.
Well, we have two amazing people here from Europe, but we don't want to forget our American boys. We have Barry Hawk and Charlie Mullins out there looking for their wins for the end of the season. We're going to head down to Jason and get a better look at the start.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Jason WEIGANDT down here at the start. And Rachel, you are right. You cannot count out the American talents. Barry Hawk and Charlie Mullins, they are overdue for another win, especially the youngster behind me. Charlie Mullins, when we talk about the riders from New Zealand and Australia and Finland and the Isle of Man, Mullins comes from about an hour away from here. He lives in Ohio. So if he can get his first win, it would be huge. There'd be a lot of people cheering for him. And how big would it be to do it against this stacked field of world champions?
And world champion stacked it most certainly is. But, you know, it's got to add fuel to the fire for guys like Barry Hawk and Charlie Mullins, Glenn Carney even, and several of the other folks to know that they've been talking about JUHA and Knight going head-to-head. But, hey, we've got a bunch of other guys out there on that starting road that can very well take a championship win here at the Powerline Park GNCC. We got 24 of them getting set to head into turn number one right now. Can JUHA SALMINEN grab another hole shot? Not this time. Look at that. JUHA still back on the starting line. So who's going to grab the early lead? It's going to be Charlie Mullins aboard the number 4. Is he going to be able to hold? No, it's not. It's the number 10 of Freddie Andrews. On the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, Freddie Andrews gets to the first turn first and out first. And he'll also grab that Racer X Hole Shot Award with Mullins back there in the number 2 spot. And there's David Knight at 113. He's up in a third place position to open things up. And we've got a battle already in the making. And we're just through the first 3 turns of racing here. Let's take a look at that hole shot one more time. See how Freddie got it done. As we see, it looks like Charlie had the line heading into that turn, but he pushed way out wide, and Freddie was able to duck in underneath him and take over the number 1 spot and get the Racer X Hole Shot Award here today. As we head down to row number 2, the 250A class, our premier class of A classes. They're the next step down from the pro class, and we've got 23 riders out there heading into that first turn right now as we head down to 4-stroke A class, row number 3. Only about 10 riders in the 4-stroke A 0 to 300cc and 12 riders in the 4-stroke A 301cc plus class. And we go head down to our next row, row number 4, 200A class now here at this FMF Powerline Park GNCC 200A class with a total of 15 riders blazing in turn number 1 now, as we can see. Dust beginning to stir up just a little bit here late in the weekend, but that's out in the open field sections. The rest of the track in prime condition as we head down to our next row, row number 5, the open A class. Heading to turn number 1 now, 8 riders in all there. And Chris Bazzelli's one to watch out for in that one, number 33 machine. Vet A class coming up next, row number 6, 10 riders. Guys like Phil Smith, Kevin Korn, Sean Remington, Brian Bolyard, Rodney Judson, Edgar Davis, and more. As we head down to the senior A class now, 40-plus class, Keith Rogers, Randall Riggs, Kane Blackwood, Bruce Snyder, Mike McIntyre, Tom Hawk, Dennis Decker. Decker again grabs another hole shot. He's tough to beat out there. 250B class coming up next, row number 8. We got 26 riders in this one. Kenny Blacksheen, Tim Surk, Chase Bishop, Jared Wolf, Corey Buttrick, Craig McCaslin, Todd Lucas, Ronald Paul, Justin Cook, Eric Leese, William Dyke, Dennis Haggerty, Aaron Johns, and more. And it looks like trouble in turn 1 for at least one rider in that 250B class. We head down to row number 9 next. It's going to be the 200B class. 25 entries in this one. Kyle Eisert won to watch. He's riding the 202. Also Levi Clements, Aaron Miller, Nathan Sabing. Welcome back to GNCC. Derek Foley, Steven Squire, Bryn Smathers, Ryan Cates, Trevor McLean, Peyton Randolph, and more. Open B class coming up next. 8 entries in this one. Row number 10. Wesley McCoy, Nick Harden, Jacob Blackwood, John Hammond, Aaron Black, Billy Snyder, Lupe Lambuno, and Greg Tucker. Round out your field of 8 riders in the Open B class. 4-stroke B, 0 to 300cc and 301cc plus class. 21 in the 0 to 300cc and 13 riders in the 301cc plus class. Guys like Ryan Pfeiffer, John Paquetti, Lucas Towery, Scott Dennis, Kurt Reno, John Montaigne, Harry Jones, and more. Vet B class coming up next, 30 plus. We got a total of 17 riders on road number 12. Randall Collin, Gene Swidwa, Chad Berger, Lance Kerr, Jeremy Volk, Joey Stanley, Chris Frazier, Dwayne Call, and more. In our final class, the Senior B 40 plus class, road number 13, 14 riders in this one. Doug Moore, Stephen Getz, David Jones, Ricky Joyce, Mike Wood, Norm M2, Todd Mount, Warren Lilly, David Averill, Ryan Flowers, and Timothy Needles. We head out to, near the 1 mile marker here on the opening lap of racing. As you can see, very tight-knit racing. Juha Salminen trying to work his way up through. There goes Robbie Jinks. Congratulations, National Hare Scramble Championship here in the 06 season. He wrapped that one up. We see Paul Whibley going by there, more than number 275. There went Dave Canning. There's Juha Salminen way back in the back of the pack. Rodney Smith back out on the track with us. And there is Doug Blackwell, the number 18 machine. But up front, it's Brad Andrews and David Knight, the Nighter, right behind him in the second place position. This could spell trouble for the Americans. Charlie Mullins running in third. J-Rat, Jimmy Jarrett running in fourth place. Glenn Carney, the FMF Suzuki pilot, along with Rodney Smith. Now, it's been a lone effort by Glenn Carney for most of the season, but he's up to fifth right now, opening things up. Cole Calkins, good start for him. Holding on to sixth place. Shane Watts, seventh place. Barry Hawk, not the best of starts, back in eighth. Edminston in ninth place. That's Garrett. And then it's Sports' Robbie Jinks rounding out the top 10. Again, your National Hare Scrambles champion. There goes Doug Blackwell, get on that Sports Cycles Racing Suzuki. Good to see him back out. Look out front. It's the Nighter. David Knight is taking over the lead. Fred Andrews back in a second place position as we're at Gus's Mud Hole, our Suzuki special test section of the race course here. Charlie Mullins in third. J-Rat back in fourth place. And is that Carney? Looks like Carney may be rounding out the top five now. Cole Calkins in sixth. Barry Hawk running up to seventh place as we try to get it all sorted out as these riders try to work their way out of this big mud hole. There's Shane Watts. Watts dropped out of the top 10, it looks like. He's running in about a seventh place position there at one point, but now all the way back to about an 11th or 12th place position. There's Paul Whibley. Consistently been very fast, and right behind Whibley, the number 275, there's Juha Salminen right behind him. Whoa, and down goes Whibley. He gets, let's better hope for him that that doesn't ruin his day. If that sucked up into that machine, it could have very well taken him out of the race today. So we'll take a look at that in our Yamaha slow motion replay. Whibley just trying to get through, and bam, down he goes. And Juha Salminen gains one more position. We're not used to seeing Juha back there, but one thing we want to point out, Juha running a four-stroke bike. He's ran two strokes all year long, but doing some experimenting here in the latter part of the season after wrapping up that second GNCC title. So congratulations to Juha as well. And there goes Rodney Smith. Good to see him back out on the trail. He's also a broadcast member of Racer TV and, of course, GNCC on DVD. We're proud to have him not only as a part of this, but back out there on the track. David Knight's up front, and we had a chance to talk with him before the race.
Yeah, I'll just see, if I get a good start, I'll try and just go as fast as I can. And, until I get to a point where you do get tired, you hit that point and you just ride through it. And then, for the last couple of laps, I'll be okay, If I don't get a good start, then it's just a case of trying to get through the pack, get up front and then hold it there, and then last couple of laps just do it like a world championship special test for 2 laps for an hour. So
well, there is our first glimpse of David Knight, who is going to be with us over the course of the next 2 years on Team KTM as Juha Salminen heads back to the World Enduro Series. David Knight been nearly undefeated for nearly 2 years now, and he's going to be tough to beat as he is out front early on, and that could spell disaster for the boys here in the red, white, and blue, and also Australian boys, and even the Finnish boys like Juha Salminen, and even New Zealanders like Paul Whibley. We got a lot of international flavor in the GNCC racing, and not only that, we've got some great 250A class racing back there on road number 2. I don't know if you was watching during the David Knight interview though. We saw the class leaders, D.R. Atwood, and the number 16 machine of Travis Green battling it out for top honors in the 250A class. And those riders, according to reports I've been getting, are actually running in a top 15 time slot right now. So they could very well be a part of the overall top 10 before this race day is all said and done, if they can keep the pace going the way that they are in the early part of the race. Right now we're at Gus's Mud Hole again, the Suzuki Special Test section. Let's sit back and watch it all unfold here at this FMF Powerline Park GNCC. Our Suzuki special test here at the FMF Powerline Park GNCC, offering up some exciting viewing at Gus's Mud Hole near the 3.5-mile marker, the Old Township Road here at Powerline Park GNCC. But right now, let's go ahead and take a look at our Rocky Mountain ATV MC Rider Tip of the Week.
This is Aaron from Rocky Mountain ATV MC with this week's Rider Tip of the Week. To many racers, looking fast is just as important as actually being fast. And a great way to look fast and showcase your sponsors is through custom printed decals from Attack Graphics. Attack Graphics decals are both durable and scratch resistant. Attack Graphics motorcycle number plate backgrounds include enough decals to do all 3 number plates and even includes a free mini front number plate decal. Attack Graphics ATV number plate backgrounds come in 3 or 4 plate versions and also include a free mini front number plate decal. To complement your number plate backgrounds and dress up your machine even more, Attack Graphics also offers port guard decals, front fender decals, rear fender decals, and swing arm decals. For just $29.99, these number plate backgrounds and all other Attack Graphics decals can be found at RockyMountainATVMC.com or call for a free catalog.
Be sure and call or log on for a free catalog as we head back out on the trail. And Fred Andrews has taken over the lead again. What happened to David Knight? He's not even back in second. That's Charlie Mullins in second. Jimmy Jarrett actually in third. Glenn Carney in fourth now. Barry Hawk fifth, and back in sixth place is that number 113 of David Knight. So mistakes early on, maybe a little bit faster pace and maybe just a different style of racing that he's not used to. So he's got, I guess, a little bit of work ahead of him, at least the first time out. He's feeling it out, but don't count him out for the win. Again, it's a 3-hour race. A lot of things can happen. We've seen how the Europeans like to sprint, and JUHA Salminen improving that, basically changing the face of GNCC racing 2 years ago when he came over. Freddie Andrews out front near the 10-mile marker. Mullins in second, Carney in third now. David Knight up to fourth. Jamie Jarrett has dropped off to fifth. Hunt back to sixth. Edmondson seventh. Cole Calkins in eighth. Robbie Jinks up to ninth. And back in the top 10 now is the number 9 of Shane Watts. As we head out just a little further down the trail, it is still the number 10 of Fred Andrews. And looks like, is that Jimmy Jarrett up to the second place position now? No, that was Carney up to second. And Knight has now moved into third. As we see, Jarrett has dropped off to a fourth place position. So again, changes taking place. But Freddie Andrew holding on to the lead. Look at this right behind him, the FMF Suzuki rider, the Australian Glenn Carney in the number 2 spot aboard the number 3. There's the 113 of David Knight, KTM's new hope for the next 2 years, 2007 and 2008. Come over and see if he can do it like JUHA did. Mullins back to a 4th place position. Hawk back up to 5th spot. Good to see Garrett Edmondson up here in the top 10, a solid top 10. Jimmy Jarrett now dropping back to 9th place. He's got some problems. Cole Calkins also dropping from 6th to a 10th place position. He's holding to a solid and steady 10th place spot. But look at this, charging from the back of the pack, JUHA Salminen could not get that machine fired up off the starting line. Everyone took off without him, and now he is having to work his way up through the pack, and we'll see if he's able to get up there and get the classic showdown that we were looking for, the instant classic here at Powerline Park GNCC between he and David Knight. Those two have not really squared off in any major battles since JUHA Salminen came to the United States. So it's been kind of a war of who's going to win this one in the press, but right now it looks like JUHA Salminen is way back in the pack, and it's going to be David Knight going against the Australian Glenn Carney and the American boys, because our New Zealander, even out of this race, I believe Paul Whibley sucked some water up into that motor, so he's out of the race. His first DNF of the year, holding on to a 5th place position in the points. As we take a look at our Moose Racing scroll across the bottom of the screen there, we can see big changes have taken place again. Mullins has dropped all the way back to a 6th place spot. Barry Hawk up to a 3rd place position. And now JUHA Salminen in an 11th place spot. And he's closing in hard and fast on the top 10. Nate Canny now in a 12th place position. If he can hook up with the 111, he might be able to work his way to the front of the pack. At the end of one lap of racing, a Suzuki leaderboard, Andrews, Carney, and Hawk 1, 2, and 3. David Knight's got his work cut out for him. Back out near the half-mile marker now. It's Andrews and Carney going at it with Hawk back in the number 3 spot. A few seconds back. David Knight in 4th place. Shane Watts now up to 5th place. He's on the move. Charlie Mullins in 6th, Garrett Edmondson running in the 7th place position. Robbie Jinks in 8th, the National Hair Champion, and the OMA champion of Jimmy Jarrett, J-Rat, rounding out the top 9. Battle for the lead here in lap number 2. We've got a 3-way. Might as well make it a 4-way battle, especially when you throw in guys guys like Shane Watts. And look at that. Watts is up to 4th now as David Knight has dropped off to 5th. Might as well say a 6-way battle because Charlie Mullins back there in the 6th place position, well within striking distance of the front of the pack right now. So we've got a 6-man fight here on lap number 2, and we're still early in the second lap of racing, and we've still got a long way to go before the checkers finally come out at the end of a 3-hour race. Instant Classic FMF Powerline Park GNCC here in beautiful St. Clairsville, Ohio. Beautiful sunshiny day. Temperatures are nice. The riders won't be worried about overheating as we're looking at temperatures in the mid-60s under these beautiful cloudless skies. I mean, this is absolutely a perfect day to go riding or racing here in Ohio at the Powerline Park GNCC. Out a little further down the trail, Barry Hawk has taken over the lead. You know, he's got to be excited about that.
Today is going to be one of them days where you just need to hang it all out, and there's going to be a lot of field sections, and it's going to be interesting because I think there's going to be some guys up front today that excel in this kind of stuff, and hopefully, like I said, I'm one of those guys.
Well, right now, Barry Hawk is definitely looking like one of those guys. He is out front, turning in the number 2 spot. They're trying to walk away from the Europeans, but not too far behind them. Shane Watts, former GNCC champion, not a European, but he is an international racer coming out of Australia. He's not far off the pace, but you know, he's been Americanized. He's married to an American girl. Lives down in Florida now, so we can call him one of us. And regardless of what allegiances he has, it's good to see Shane Watts back up in the front of the pack. Freddie Andrews still good to see him up in the front of the pack too and running up front like he has. And charging forward right now, look at this. Knight and SALMINEN have hooked up. And this could spell disaster for the boys up front. If these two get together and work their way to the front of the pack, they could very easily move into a number 1 spot. Maybe not as easily as one might think. Dry conditions, Glenn Carney, he's on the gas. He's going to be tough to beat. Watsy is riding at a whole new level here this weekend. Mullins in that 4th place position, and Andrews rounding out the top 5. But Barry Hawk, I'm sure, is not going to relinquish that lead very easily, even to the likes of David Knight and JUHA SALMINEN. Late in lap number 2, the battle continues for the lead with Hawk up front, and now Watts into the number 2 spot. Mullins has dropped off the 3rd, Carney in a 4th place position now, and Fred Andrews still rounding out the top 5. These guys, you could throw a blanket over them right now. And there you see Barry Hawk's wife actually cheering on Fred Andrews. She's got to be stoked. She's happy to see old school Freddie back up front. Up to 6 now is JUHA SALMINEN. David Knight in a 7th place position. It looks like maybe SALMINEN starting to gap Knight just a little bit out there. So maybe the showdown that we've been looking for, we've already seen a little bit of back in the pack a little bit as JUHA SALMINEN charges forward now and tries to reel in the top 5 and tries to mount a challenge and become a factor in the win here today. In the pits now, lap number 2, and it looks like Shane Watts in for a pit stop, throws the goggles off, gets a fresh pair, also going to get some fresh gas, and he's going to lose that 2nd, 3rd place position. He's dropped all the way back to a 5th, maybe even 6th place spot now, and that could knock the wind out of his sails. Let's see, though. Watsy off to a very strong start. We've seen him work his way up through the pack, still in 6th place as JUHA SALMINEN, so a little bit of a gap between 5th and 6th, but SALMINEN, I'm sure, is going to try to shrink that up as much as possible. Into the pits now, it's going to be David Knight in for a 2nd lap pit stop, and he's changing gloves and goggles. You got to wonder, did he go down out there and get those gloves wet? Maybe that's why we've seen him drop from 1st all the way back to a 6th place position for some time. But right now, he's struggling a little bit, trying to get those gloves on. That one goes on somewhat easy. Let's see how the next one goes on. As well, maybe not as easy as one might have thought. He's struggling to get those on. Now here comes that 2nd glove, and it's a little tougher to get on as well. And he probably doesn't have to do a lot of pit stops in European-style racing and national or international enduros. But here today, he's having to do some of those, and it's taking some time and taking a toll on him. And he got passed by several riders at the end of lap number 2. It's still Hawk out front. Mullins and Carney battling for the number 2 spot, but at the end of 2, it will be Mullins in 2nd, Carney in 3rd, and Fred Andrews in 4th, and Shane Watts holds on to a solid top 5 position here on board that KTM. SALMINEN in 6th place, again from dead last off the start up to a 6th place spot. Robbie Jinks now, your National Hare Scramble champion, running in 7th. Jeremy Jarrett, J-Rat, the OMA champion, in 8th. Nate Canny, the Unadilla GNCC champion, in 9th. And David Knight has dropped all the way back to a 10th place spot. He was running a solid top 5 when he stopped into the pits. Near the 1 mile marker now. Listen to the crowd cheering on Barry Hawk as he makes his way through. There is Mullins. They're cheering him on too. Carney in 3rd. And the other Ohio boy, aside from Mullins, Freddie Andrews, getting some cheers. And they're cheering on Shane Watts. Shane, a lot of folks really love to watch Shane Watts ride. They're cheering on JUHA SALMINEN. He's become a part of this GNCC series as well, and the fans love them all. There's J-Rat again. And the J-Rat fans are cheering as well. He's an Ohio rider, so he's got some fans close by. Meanwhile, there goes Nate Canny. A lot of folks really pleased to see him up here at the top of the box at Unadilla a couple of weeks ago. And giving him his congratulations out here on the trail, maybe outside the top 10 right now. We're trying to fire him up, get him up there into the mix of things, and maybe become a factor in today's race as we look at some of our B-class and A-class riders that are now making their way past this 1 mile marker. The fans are in for a definite treat. It doesn't look like the most exciting place to stand, but you know, throughout the course of the day, a lot of things can happen, especially with those ruts developing. The deeper they get, the more obstacles that are going to be laid out before these riders with the roots and the rocks and dug up in that process. And you know, even the amateur riders are getting some cheers from the crowd out there on the trail right now. So these guys are loving it, racers and the race fans. Back out front, it's a 2-man battle now for the #1 spot. Hawk and Carney in a battle for 3rd between Andrews and Mullins.
I got all my family here to support me, and I hope I can put on a good show for them. And I feel really good about this race. I really like it, and I want to try my best to win, and hopefully I can win for everybody. My goal was to win one by the end of the year, and it's winding down, and I have this race and another race left, so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win the day.
So Charlie Mullins going to let it all hang out. David Knight all the way back to 9th. He was in 10th, but he's gotten around Cole Calkins now for a 9th place position. That was after that extended pit stop. He got passed by several riders, and that's the only bad thing about having a tight-knit pack like that. Whenever you have to stop into the pits, if it takes any time whatsoever, those guys have an opportunity to get away from you, and that's exactly what they've done. But again, the world champion of David Knight, you can't count him out yet. We see JUHA SALMINEN do it coming back in the pack, so who's to say David Knight can't pull it off? We're still in a 4 or 5-man battle for the #1 spot, still being led by Barry Hawk. Shane Watts back in the 5th place position, letting the lead pack get away from him. Got some lap traffic now between himself and the front 4, but he's trying to quickly work his way through the back. JUHA SALMINEN chasing down Watts from that 6th place position. Robbie Jinks running in a 7th place position now, and some more lap traffic starting to come into play here. So a little early on in this race, we're seeing lap traffic. There's J-Rat, Jimmy Jarrett. He has got a championship under his belt from the OMA series. You know, you expect him to be a force here today, especially being in Ohio, but maybe the nerves got to him and all the pressure of guys like that right there, the 113 of David Knight, about them being here. Might have been playing head games back in the time. He gets that sorted out and realizes, hey, David Knight's a man too. He's behind me right now. I got to pick up the pace here and try to beat these guys. So we'll see if Jerry's able to do that as we look a little further back into our pro class and even some of our pro-am riders make their way through. There goes Justin Williamson, the number 12 machine. Now we're starting to see some of those A-class riders. That was D.R. Atwood leading that 250 A-class. Back down to Gus's mud hole. Barry Hawk with a freight train right behind him. Glenn Carney still the number 2 spot here at the Suzuki Special Test. And looks like maybe the top 3 are starting to spread out just a little bit. Where's Fast Freddy? That might be Freddy coming through now. And anyway, we see that folks have actually gotten out into the middle of the mud hole to show these guys the better lines to get through. That guy you see standing there, if you've heard the name Walker Fowler, that's actually his father out pointing out lines for the leaders as they make their way through. Carney in 2nd, Fred Andrews up to 3rd now as Mullins has dropped off to 4th place, and Shane Watts in that number 5 spot. Looks like he's closing in, as is JUHA SALMINEN. Robbie Jinks trying to reel JUHA SALMINEN in as he's been fighting his own battles back there, about 10th place position all day long today. And is that Jarrett? I believe that may be Jimmy Jarrett actually giving the pass away. No, that's not the 158. It's a 58, I think. It's a Kawasaki. It looked like a Suzuki there for a moment, but it's not. We've got a pile up here on the 5-mile uphill. There goes Jimmy Jarrett there. I knew Jarrett wasn't far behind, but he was far enough behind that he would not be taken out by these 2 riders. So good news for him, but those riders coming up behind him like Nate Canny, who's up to a 9th place position, and David Knight, who's fallen back to 10th place again. things like that right there that slow their progress down as the day progresses. There's Cole Calkins, the 11th place right now, getting held up with that lap traffic, and you can see some of the GNCC mud fleas is what they call them. Those are the race fans that go out there and dive in head first, regardless of the conditions, and help the riders out up the hills, through the mud holes, and different places like that. That hill again, you can tell by the way that rider's sitting there, and that is a 158, but that is not a GNCC racing number 158, so that explains a lot and why I thought that was Jimmy Jarrett. But you can see how steep that hill is by looking at it. It's not really that steep. There goes D.R. Atwood again, still leading that 258 class. Looks like he's opening up things up there just a little bit. Barry Hawk still out front. Andrews into the second place position now. Carney running in third. Mullins in fourth. Shane Watts rounds out your top five. It is Juha Salminen still holding on to a solid and steady sixth place position now. Back in seventh place, they tell us it's Robbie Jinks. Eighth place, J-Rat, Jimmy Jarrett. Nate Candy at ninth. David Knight rounding out the top 10. His new leader again, Freddie Andrews back out front. You see him put his hand up in victory. This is the best race he's had in quite some time. Carney now in a second place position. Hawk has dropped back to third. Down goes a lapped rider. Not going to slow down Mullins too much, though, as he's still able to keep the momentum. Here comes Shane Watts. Looks like lap traffic is out of his way now, so maybe he can motor ahead a little bit and try to lure these guys in. But Fast Freddy back up front. I kind of thought maybe we'd see him begin to fade. That seems to be what we've seen out of him when he does get close to the front. But today, it's adrenaline that he's running on in his home state of Ohio. Quite possibly the last time we'll ever see Fast Freddie Andrews racing a GNCC in the great Buckeye state of Ohio, his own home state, because I guess Freddie is actually going to be going into a full-time team manager position in the coming years. So this is his last full year of pro racing. So way to go, Freddie, in front of the hometown crowd. There's Carney not far behind. Hawk still back in third. This is a nail-biter, folks. Mullins in fourth place, and still the factors that we were looking at but coming into the race have not even began to be factored in. That guy right there, Juha Salminen, and the rider all the way back in about a 9th or 10th place position, David Knight. They've not even been factors yet, but the factor that has been here today, Glenn Carney.
Yeah, you know, definitely I'm stoked with the conditions today. It reminds me of home. You know, the sun's out, the track looks dry and hard pack. It's going to be fun. North Carolina was good for me. The conditions were really good. Unadilla went the other way, rained again, but we're back into perfect condition again, so I'm stoked.
Good to see Glenn feeling good about the weather. I know that he, when it rains, he just does not seem to have the gumption that he needs to go out and race. In for the pit stops now. We'll see what kind of changes are taking place. Andrews is in. Carney's in for a pit stop now. And as is Barry Hawk in for a pit stop. So Hawk getting some fuel, getting some fresh goggles. There's Charlie Mullins in for a pit stop. And there goes Freddie Andrews back out of the pit. So he's able to retain the lead and hold on to the #1 spot as we near the completion of lap number 3. Mullins out of the pits now as he still holds on to a 4th place position. Meanwhile, Watts and Salminen now making their way into the pits. Watts, if you remember, pitted a couple of laps ago, so Salminen in for a fresh pair of goggles and some fresh gasoline, and looks like Ante may be looking at something on his bike, but U-Haul's off and rolling, didn't stay slowed down too much. Robbie Jinks in for a pit stop. He's working his way up through the pack, and you know he's got to be excited about this race today. There goes Nate Canny. He is the National Hare Scrambles champion. There's David Knight, the World Enduro champion, in for a pit stop this time around. He gets the gasoline. This is the second time we've seen him in the pits as we charge toward the checkers, and Freddie Andrews side by side with Barry Hawk holds on to the lead. Carney back in 3rd place position. It's Mullins in 4th, and Shane Watts rounds out your top 5.
Well, here we are halfway through the Powerline Park GNCC. Rachel, it was supposed to be the big battle between Juha and Knighter, but it has not turned out that way at all.
We saw Knight come in. He had to stop and get gloves, goggles. Yeah. He lost a lot of time at his pit stop. Probably was a little discouraging, and now he's coming around way off the pace. So the battle really wasn't what we expected it to be. But the Yamaha boys are everything we did expect them to be. They're up here running 1, 2, 3, doing everything that we expected them to do all year.
Absolutely. They're running up front. Same thing with Glenn Carney. He's been a contender all year. But the big surprise of the day, and I know the people in Ohio are pumped, Fred Andrews is right there. It's going to be a great race. We'll see if Fast Freddy can hold on for 3 hours. Stay with us.
Thanks, Jason and Rachel, as we head out on lap number 4 in the home stretch of this one. what is going to happen before this day is all said and done. JUHA SALMINEN battles his way through the pack. David Knight going way back in the pack and trying to work his way back up to the pack. He got the last half of this race just to get done in. And three-man battle up front. Some surprises there, a couple of them being two in particular. Out goes one of our A or B riders out there on the trails. There goes, is that Fred Andrews now working his way? Yeah, it was. And there goes Barry Hawk in second, Carney in third. So lots of lap traffic before them now. And here comes another one. He don't know whether he wants to try it or not. Gives it a try. Yes, he does make it. So some excitement out in the woods out near that 1 mile marker. Watsy still rounding out the top 5 out there. And this race, again, as we said, is not shaping up anything like what the folks expected it to. We don't have David Knight up front. We don't have JUHA SALMINEN up front. But we do have Fred Andrews up front, someone that we weren't expecting to see up front in a contender. We do have Shane Watts up front, someone that I'm sure a lot of folks were not expecting to be a contender here today, but he is. So regardless of what you're expecting coming into the race, you never know what's going to happen until race day rolls around. We're seeing how things are coming into play here today. It's nothing like what we thought it would be. But let me tell you something. This is only a glimpse of what we're going to get to see from the 2007 season. Just scratch JUHA's name off the pro list, throw David Knight in there, and it's going to be an all-out war between those guys and David Knight. Because David Knight's coming in with a lot of credentials in this GNCC series. And he's coming in on the coattails of JUHA SALMINEN, and that could put a lot of pressure on him. There goes 577, by the way, of Christopher Robertson, who's experiencing some problems today. I think he's having some clutch problems, if I'm not mistaken. He's riding on that ThumperTalk.com Yamaha. Still Freddie out front, Hawk in second, Carney in third. No changes through our top 3 as they're beginning to stretch things out a little bit over Charlie Mullins, who's back in a 4th place position. SALMINEN and Watt still in that heated battle for the 5th place spot. We saw them coming through the pits together. Then SALMINEN actually stopping for a pit stop to get some gas and goggles and stuff. And Watt's got a little bit of breathing room, but since then, SALMINEN has been able to reel him in and mount yet another challenge for the number 5 spot. So we've got several battles that are taking place throughout the course of this 12-mile racetrack with these pro riders, and that's just the pro class that we're talking about. We've got like 13 other classes out there that are going at it. In particular right now, that 250A class, the championship is down between the number 296 of D.R. Atwood and that number 19 of Jesse Robinson of Conley Springs, North Carolina. Jesse Robinson has taken top amateur honors several times so far in this 2006 racing season, and he is going after him again today. But more importantly, he's going after the 258 class championship here today, and all he's got to do is beat the 296 of D.R. Atwood, the doctor from Milcombe. D.R. has to win the next 2 races today and the Ironman GNCC in order to clinch the championship. But Jesse Robinson, all he's got to do is beat him once out of these next 2 races, and he's got the championship in the clinch. And if D.R. doesn't win, and again, it takes him out of the championship contention. Jesse doesn't even have to win at that point where the points all break down. So rather interesting back there in that 258 class. Those are some of the guys we're going to see moving up. Guys like Travis Green, Scott Watkins, Jesse Robinson, Thaddeus Duvall, D.R. Atwood. Now, Duvall, I imagine, will probably stick around that 258 class for another year or so. But again, he might move up to the XC Lights class. Who knows?
Hi, my name is JUHA SALMINEN. I have 2 really successful years here in the US and TNCC series. It's time to go home and get the new talents in the Europe and the World Enduro series. Racing here in the US and especially TNCC is giving me a lot. You know, it was a great experience. It was just what I need, some different kind of racing and really kind of racing what I really like to do. It's pity that it's so far from home. Each title is unique. I still remember my first title in Europe, and same as here, 05 in GNCC series. The title, you know, it's something, but of course, you know, every title it's important, and you will remember those. But first one is always first one. The second year, 06 in GNCC series was the year after title. Is every time difficult, and you have to really work hard, and guys are ready. Well prepared, you know, chasing you, because 05 I was Mr. Nobody. I came from Europe. I didn't make well. I make one race 04, But anyway, I was the guy who ride behind those guys, and 06 I was the guy who everybody changed, and it was a more difficult year than 05. I think the 06 the competition was harder than 05, and I'm really happy that I made it 06 well as I did. Fans here in the US are really great. They are open people, they speak a lot and you can speak with them, and I'm lucky they really took me as one of them. Yeah, I like to thank all the competitors. You know, it's been tough through 2 years. Thanks for you guys, and hopefully I give you some ideas and some things to do for next year and the future. You guys give me a lot. I would like to thank the KTM. You know, they've been making a lot of work for the team, for me, and actually KTM based and they built a team over me and with me, and of course the teammates Robbie and Mike. You know, Robbie thanks, he won the Hair Scramble title in this year 06, and of course multi-time champion Mike Lafferty. Especially beginning, they give me a lot of advices and tips what to do, and it's been helping me, you know, since beginning. Well, guys, my GNCC career is this far. It's over, but I might come 09 with the quad. So what's out?
Whoa, could that maybe be a hint of what we may see in the coming years? We'll have to wait and see. Back out the Suzuki special test, and look at this, the fans are out there. Those are mechanics and crew members too that are out there trying to point these guys to the better lines. They don't want to see their riders go down and throw it all away like we saw Paul Whibley do on lap number 1. So they're trying to keep them all in a good, consistent line there and give them all a good, fair race. Pointing out the same line for everybody through there. So that's good sportsmanship by everybody, whether they're riding a KTM, a Yamaha, a Honda, a Suzuki, a Kawasaki. It doesn't matter down here at Gus's Mud Hole. The Mud Fleas are out in full force here today, and they're ready to help these pro riders as we take one more look at the Suzuki Special Test section. Gus's Mud Hole, again, an old township road, and the bottom is beginning to drop out of it. Back out on the trail, more lap traffic becoming a factor. And who's this up front? Is this Fred Andrews still up front aboard the number 10? Or is that Barry Hawk that's taking over the lead? I believe that may be Andrews still up front. Carney back in the number 2 spot. There is the number 4 of Charlie Mullins. So not seeing a lot of changes, at least with our front runners. And there's 2011 of Salminen now breaking into the top 5 as he gets around the number 9 of Shane Watts. Watts drops off to a 6th place position. A little further down the track now, Hawk has taken over the lead. Carney running in 2nd. Mullins in a 3rd place position as Freddie Andrews has dropped off to 4th place. These guys, one little mistake, and 3 guys get by you in the blink of an eye. That's how this race has been all day long. In the 5th place spot is Salminen. 6th place is Shane Watts. Watts keeping Salminen in sight, though. As we look back to 7th and up from 10th place to 7th now is David Knight. The Knighter has ignited and is on a mission now up to 7th place. Nathan Canning now up to an 8th place position. Robbie Jinks drops back to a 9th place spot. Tough break for Jinks there, but he's staying as honest and as true as he can. He's still the leaders have switched again as Carney is taking it over. One more time, Barry Hawk back in the 2nd place position. Is still Mullins running in 3rd. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Andrews still in a 4th place position. There goes Andrews for the number 10. Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, JUHA Salminen there. There goes the number 9 of Shane Watts as well. So they're still battling for 5th. And right now, Salminen just trying to reel in guys like Glenn Carney and Barry Hawk and Charlie Mullins and Freddie Andrews, because he knows he's not too far off the pace right now, about 40 seconds back behind that front pack. So all he's got to do is hope for a good lap or two. He can shave some time off and maybe be in position on the final lap to mount a challenge for the checkers. And you know, David Knight, not too far off the pace either. Now that he's in a 7th place position, he could become a force to factor in for the championship win here at Powerline Park 2. So, you know, when we started counting out David Knight, there he is working his way back up to the pack. It might just take him a little time to get it all sorted out. Look out. Guys up front, they're coming from the back of the pack. David Knight, JUHA Salminen, Shane Watson, all the guys want to be on the podium today. Carney out front still, Hawk still in second, Mullins still in that number 3 spot. Look at the ruts that are developing. These riders are beginning to use different lines. You can see other ruts are beginning to develop out there now. And it's not nearly as tough to get through this section as it was a lap ago, but it is still rather difficult. They are dragging this section of this race course here on lap number 5. But down to Gus's mud hole now, Suzuki Special Test section. As we watch some of the lap traffic ease in, and now some of our pro traffic. That's Carney in the number 1 spot. And like we said, boys in blue, the boys in green, and the boys in orange, all pointing these guys in the right direction. That's good, true sportsmanship you see out there. And as much as they want to see their riders win and their team win, it's kind of tough sometimes to play the devil's advocate there and maybe throw those guys in the water by being out there saying, here guys, let me help you out, and then ruining the race day. So way to go, guys. Tip of the hat to you again. Good sportsmanship we see down there at Gus's Mud Hole in our Suzuki Special Test section of our race course here at the FMF Powerline Park GNCC. Back out on the trail now as Carney still holds on to the lead, but Hawk has not let him get away any whatsoever, and neither is Mullins. It's a 1-2-3 man battle now. Where's your 4th place ride? It looks like things are starting to stretch out between 3rd and 4th now as Andrew's still in the 4th place position. He's got some lap traffic back there. Not only lap traffic, but it looks like he's got maybe JUHA Salminen and Shane Watts closing the gap. And David Knight now moving into a 5th place position. I guess that was Knight we seen going by there, not Salminen. Salminen has dropped off to 6th. Watts has dropped back to 7th. So looks like Salminen and Watts encountered problems. Knight was able to close the gap, make the pass, move into 5th. And I told you, keep an eye out for him. He could be there when the checkers finally fly. We're in the latter part of this race, and he has wicked things up quite a bit. And this could, again, spell the recipe for David Knight getting onto the podium and maybe even taking the win here at Powerline Park. But Carney has a lot to say about that, especially with dry conditions. He's going to let it all hang out, as is Barry Hawk and Charlie Mullins. These guys have fought too long and too hard to ride up front at the pace they're riding in order to relinquish that so easily to guys like David Knight and JUHA Salminen. But Salminen is on his way back up through the pack, trying to work his way back up through the pack after falling off a couple of spots. And David Knight now in a 4th place position. Again, you heard me. 4th place position. There's Mullins in 3rd, and here comes Knight. And that's exactly what I mean. Here comes Knight. Knight actually turned about a 45-second faster lap so far this time around. So he has picked up the pace a lot more than the rest of the field. And the lap traffic does not seem to be hampering him any whatsoever. Still Carney, Hawk, Mullins, Knight, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is Andrews that has dropped off to a 5th place position now aboard the number 10 Pro Circuit Monster Energy Kawasaki. Salminen 6, Watts still running in the 7th place position. In an 8th place position, we see that Nathan Canny holding on steady to a top 10 after moving up through the pack. He was in the back of about a 14th place position at one point. And it looks like Robbie Jinks rounds out the top 9. And Jimmy Jarrett, what happened to J-Brad? I think he might still be back in about a 10th place position. Jarrett, the OMA champion, one that has been running in about a 4th place position just off the podium pace, is not even a part of the top 10 today. You got to wonder what's going on as we head into the white flag lap. One more to go. It's Carney out front, Hawk in 2nd, Mullins in 3rd, David Knight up to a 4th place position, and Jason Wygant standing by.
All right, folks, here it is, the last lap of what has been one of the best GNCCs we have seen in years. At the beginning of this race, we had 10, 12 riders who had a shot at winning it. On the last lap, now we still have 5 riders in contention. You've got Kearney, Mullins, Hawk right there running wheel-to-wheel out front. And the 2 KTM boys are not far behind with Knight leading Salminen. It's anyone's race between those 5. It's going to be a mad dash down here to the finish, and we're going to catch it all.
Thanks, Jason. As we head out near the 1 mile marker here on this final lap of racing, lap traffic just ahead of our leaders. Here comes Carney, here comes Mullins. Will this change the pace of the race? Not at least at this point. Carney still out front. Hawk in the number 2 spot. We see Mullins trying to inch his way into it now. He's still not far off the pace, but some lap riders in between himself and the front 2 might be enough to slow him down and let those guys break away just a little bit. Are they far enough ahead now of the 113 of that rider right there, David Knight, to hold on to the top 3 spots? Or will Knight actually move up and take over the win? And will Juha Salminen be able to do it? There's Freddie Andrews back in a 6th place position. Hats off to Freddie. What a phenomenal ride for him today. 6 laps of intense racing. The first 5, Freddie was there the entire time, and he's still within contention of a podium position if things fall in his favor here in this final lap. But right now it looks like it's going to be Carney and Mullins and Hawk that are going to be on the podium unless Knight and Salminen can get up and challenge those guys. And look at that. Cole Calkins is staying with Knight, but, of course, Calkins down a lap now. He was doing quite well in the first half of the race, actually running in a top 8, 9 position, but has fallen off the pace since then. Meanwhile, back up front with the leaders, still Carney up front, Hawk in the number 2 spot as we inch our way closer and closer to the finish line and the checkers. And the one that everyone was not expecting to have happen, David Knight and possibly Juha Salminen, neither one on the podium. But again, still a few more miles to go. A lot of things can happen, but the story that everyone had written in their mind before they came to this race, maybe even the reporters had written before the start of the race, thinking, hey, I know how this one's going to go. It's going to be rather simple and easy to detect. That's not the case here today. It's been a totally different story than anyone has expected. One last time through the Suzuki Special Test section here at Gus's Mud Hole. And again, these guys are all playing fair out there. You know, though, you got to wonder, hey, why don't they just step back and let it all unfold the way that it should naturally so we can get to see those shakeups? But maybe some of those guys don't want to see those European riders up there like Knight and Salminen this weekend. They want to help play the spoiler. Keep guys like Carney, the Australian, off the podium. Barry Hawk, the American. And, of course, Charlie Mullins, the American/Ohioan, as we are in the great Buckeye State of Ohio, his home state. Looking like he may get another podium here. Not the win that he was looking for, at least not at this point. But, again, it's not over. But right now, I think more importantly, instead of trying to take a win today, he's going to have to worry about trying to fight off the number 113 of David Knight, because Knight appears to be closing that gap up quite a bit. Look at this. Nate Canny now up to 6th place. Canny has really been on a rail today. I mean, he got off to not the best of starts, but, you know, he's been riding a good, consistent race all race long and has been inching his way closer and closer to the top 5 all day. He may not make the top 5, but, hey, you got to say a commendable ride for the youngster coming off that win at the Unadilla GNCC anyway. Reports are and rumors are that Nathan Canny actually going to be riding for Husqvarna in the 2007 racing season. He's actually moving to Italy to race the World Enduro Series, so good luck to Nathan Canny. He'll be one of the first Americans to pull something like that off, or try that at least in quite some time. So we'll keep our eyes and our ears out and see how Nathan's going to be doing in 07. Going to miss him in the GNCCs for sure, but maybe he'll come back in a few years, a little more seasoned, a little bit more of a contender on a consistent basis. Carney, Hawk, Mullins, 1, 2, and 3. Knight still in 4th. Andrews holding on to 5th place with Salminen back in the number 6 spot. It's Watts in 7th, Nate Canny in 8th, and like we said, Robbie Jinks still rounds out 9th place position aboard that number 5 machine. Getting closer and closer to the conclusion of the Powerline Park GNCC. And again, the spoiler, the Australian, Glenn Carney, heading toward the checkers now. Barry Hawk back in the number 2 spot. And still Charlie Mullins in 3rd. No changes in those top 3. Again, reports now that gap between Mullins and Knight at about 25 seconds is what they're telling us at this point. 25-second gap, so he is closing the gap up. And it may be not enough before the checkers fly, but again, he's been turning about a 30 to 40-second faster lap on every other lap than what everyone else has been out there. So it's not inconceivable to think that Knight might be able to pull this off before the checkers unfurl here in the next few miles of racing. Again, St. Clairsville, Ohio, the FMF, Powerline Park, GNCC, and a beautiful sunshiny day. It's been a couple of years since we've seen something like that here at Powerline Park. Last few years that we've been coming here, we've been seeing rain showers, a lot of rain either leading up to the race or during the actual racing itself, but not this weekend. We had a little bit of rain that helped dampen things down in the woods and keep things very nice out there in the fields as well. And lots of sunshine and cool temperatures to make it a rather enjoyable day, whether you're a spectator or whether you're a racer. This makes for a great day to be out here in St. Clairsville, Ohio. Battle for the win now as we head through the pits one last time. It's Barry Hawk still on the rear wheel of Glenn Carney. We're nearing the 11-mile marker of a 12-mile race, just 1 mile from the checkers, and Barry Hawk has got the pressure being applied to Carney. Will he be able to pass him before the checkers? We'll just have to wait and see. We're getting closer and closer. Carney still out front. Hawk still in the number 2 spot. Lap traffic there. You can see Hawk not happy about that one bit. And there is Mullins still back in third. No sign of David Knight, so Mullins should be able to hold on to a third-place position over the course of the next 3/4 of a mile or so. Here comes Knighter aboard the number 113. You know, he's wondering, hey, this GNCC game is a little different than what I thought maybe coming into it. Kind of like a 3-hour-long sprint, but he's getting his feet wet here today, and he'll go home and train. And here comes our win. And look at this. Barry Hawk has taken over the lead at the checkers. Barry Hawk takes the win, and Glenn Carney settles up for second-place position. The win snatched from his fingertips. You know Carney has got to be extremely upset right now. Charlie Mullins, who was hoping for his first win, will settle up for third. And, you know, he's probably not the happiest individual either, but that guy right there, very happy. Barry Hawk, as the celebrations begin here in St. Clairsville, Ohio. The entire pit crew coming over to congratulate him, his wife, the race fans, everybody excited about this one. Here comes Barry Hawk Sr., his dad, to pat him on the back there. You know he is happy to see him. There's his mechanic, Doug Whitmer. Whitmer actually raced the morning race earlier today. Let's talk to Hawk.
Man, it feels good. It was that was one of the funnest ones I've done in a long time. It was a lot of fun, and I got Glenn back here on one of the off-camber grass track sections. He went outside, and I dove inside, and I knew if I could hold it, make that past stick, I pretty much had it won, and it's exactly what happened.
It was all right, but I just had problems with the bike cutting out every lap, and it just wouldn't start on the button, it wouldn't start on the kickstart. Just kept losing loads of time, but I felt all right out there. I was just riding a bit ragged early on, just trying too hard, and yeah, it'll be all right next time. Yeah, a bit boring really, because it was just really slippery and you couldn't push hard, and it was hard work on this, to be honest, but yeah, it was all right. I enjoyed it.
Wow, what a day here at the Powerline Park GNCC. Barry Hawk plays the spoiler to take the championship here in Ohio. A well-deserved burnout on the podium.
Well, as the day concludes here at the Powerline GNCC, it wasn't quite the battle we expected. While we did have JUHA and David Knight battling it out, it was for fourth, not first.
Yeah, it was definitely a great race, and we expected to see David Knight and JUHA SALMINEN battle out for first and second here today. They're both world champions, but it was really neat to see the Americans Barry Hawk, the Australian Glenn Carney on Suzuki. They showed David Knight a little bit about what he's got to look forward to here next year.
How do you think that's going to affect next year?
Well, it's kind of a bad situation because now that he got defeated here today, he's going to go back home and work even harder, and he's probably going to come back over next year even more prepared.
Well, we had a great race today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Racer TV.